shelf applications, or do you roll some of your own apps?
It depends on what items you're talking about. Most of the I use Code Warrior, and I've used Photoshop and some of the word processing things. I don't. The things I write are generally for my company or things that I've written for myself, mostly games.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is you're trying to convince your company to stick with Macintoshes. Does your company use those Macintoshes to deploy custom apps that you write for your company, or does your company use those Macintoshes to deploy primarily shrink-wrapped apps?
Mostly it's support software for hardware that they sell that is targeted for both PCs and Macs.
Do they write that software themselves?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Well, one of the things you could say is if they could write that software 5 to 10 times faster and deploy it on Macs and with Rhapsody on Intel on PCs, would that be of interest to them?
I think it would.
I would throw that into the mix of arguments I would use. And I guess the other thing I would do is Guarino De Luca, without doing Guarino's job here because he's much better at it than me. Guarino De Luca's here. He runs marketing for Apple, right? Where's Guarino? Where is he? He's backstage. Storm the stage after I get off. Go find this guy, and he's actually got a white paper on this that you should get your hands on. Thank you. Okay. Yes. Yes.
A while ago, Apple had a vision of a user interface that meant, like this last guy, when you were over here last, meant I wouldn't have to do work. My machine would do it for me using agent software, Knowledge Navigator, intelligent agents. Are we going to see the like of that sometime soon? Because I'm signed up for that.
You know, I'm trying to think of a metaphor to use, and one's not coming to me. It turns out there is so much headroom to make the networked world we live in so much more productive, so much easier, and so much more fun than it is now, that we know how to do. It's not research. We know how to do this. That to bet our future right now on the results of research into the agent world, where you can pick up all sorts of magazines and read people spouting off about it, but you can't go see it actually. You know, there's nothing tangible about it. It is research at this moment. To bet our future, to bet our next 5 years on research versus something that is so tangible that we know, that we can see, that we can touch, would be foolish. And so the core of our strategy is to take advantage of the dramatic headroom to make this connected world so much more productive for the rest of us, rather than just an individual computer, which was the original vision of the Mac. To take that next big leap and make that connected world so much more productive, that's what we're doing. Not that we're not working on agents. There's people working on agents in the back. But the core of the strategy is focused on what I just said. And I think you're right. I think at some point they're going to start doing more for us in ways we can't imagine. But even before we get to that, we can make life 5 times better, even without that research being successful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
One quick question. What do you think Apple should do with Newton?
You had to ask that. I'm in the minority, and what I think doesn't really matter about this. I think that most companies can't be successful with one stack of system software. Rarely can they manage two. And we, I believe, are going to succeed at managing two during the next several years with Mac OS and Rhapsody, which is a superset of that. I cannot imagine being successful trying to manage three. So I have a sort of a law of physics disconnect with trying to do that. I just don't see how it can be done. And I don't think that has anything to do with how good or bad Newton is, or whether we should be making $800 products or $500 products, which I think we should. It has to do with, I don't see how you manage three software stacks. And so that's what I think.
Do you actually have a Newton? Have you used it?
I tried a Newton. I bought one. I thought it was, bought one of the early ones. I thought it was a piece of junk. I threw it away. I bought one of the Motorola Envoys, the wireless thing. I thought it was a piece of junk after using it for 3 months and threw it away. I hear the new ones are a lot better. I haven't tried one. I've sort of been, what's that? Try one? Yeah, I will. But see, here's my problem. My problem is, to me, the high order bit is connectivity. Right? The high order bit is being in touch, connected to a network. That's why I bought the Envoy. It had a cellular modem in it. And I don't think the world's about keeping my life on this little thing and IRing it into my computer when I get back to my base station. I think that to me, what I want is this little thing I carry around with me that's got a keyboard on it, because if you do email, you need a keyboard until you perfect speech to speech recognition. You need a keyboard. You don't sit there and write stuff. You need a keyboard. And you need to be connected to the net. So if somebody would just make a little thing where you're connected to the net at all times, and you got a little keyboard like an eMate with a modem in it, God, I'd love to buy one. But I don't see one of those out there. And I don't care what OS it has in it. So, I don't want a little scribble thing. But that's just me. That's just me. So, one last question. Sir.
This was going back to PR and marketing, because you mentioned that a little bit earlier. First off, would you be interested in taking a slightly more evangelistic role within the company? Because, yes, you are a single person, you are in the minority, so to speak, but when you talk, it does have a lot of effect, because basically, a stone in a pond produces a lot of ripples. The second thing that ties along with that is, on the marketing side, going to print, that makes sense, and going to get the writers to write stories and to back things up will have a very positive effect, and that's correct. But the marketing side of the house seems to not be in sync with everything else, and in particular, certain marketing agencies. What would it take for Apple to work with a marketing agency that has a vested interest in making things successful? Personally speaking, I don't feel that the present marketing organization, and this is not talking about Guerno, this is more the marketing, the other marketing agencies that work with Apple. I don't think they have Apple's best interests at heart, because they're not hungry. They have no drive. They have no reason of saying, hey, we got to make this thing fly, because if we don't, we die along with them.
Right. Well, let me answer both those questions in reverse order. I think Apple needs to be working with really great agencies. I don't care if they're hungry or if they're not. I don't care if they're West Coast or East Coast. They just need to be great, because the results need to be great. Our customers aren't going to measure us on how hard people tried or how hungry they were. They're going to measure us on what they see. So they need to be great. And I agree with you. I don't think 100% of the people Apple's working with are great. And I think the person running marketing, Guerno DeLuca, is really good, and he knows that, and he is working through those things in a priority list. And he's starting with the most important ones and working his way down. So I think your point of view is absolutely shared. And it will take a few more months to see some of those things happen, and probably a few more months after that to get results, because there are more important things that need to be done and are being done. In terms of my role, when Apple bought Next, Gil asked me to be an advisor to him, and I agreed to do that until he told me to go away, or I decided he wasn't listening to me, and neither of those has occurred. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity and like working with him on strategic issues. The area where I really concentrated my energy over the last several months has been to help Gil re-architect the organization of the company and to and his senior lieutenants. And so the company went from being a very divisionally oriented company with a zillion P&L centers, and it was very complicated, to a very simple organization now. It's very functionally organized. Avi Tavanian came in, and he's running all of software now, and I think Avi's really first rate. I think he's one of the best software executives on the planet. I think he's doing a really good job. John Rubenstein came in to run hardware, and I feel exactly, I talked a little bit about John earlier, he is tops. Garino DeLuca is running marketing. He previously ran Claris, and I think he's doing a very fine job. Fred Anderson, the CFO, is top-notch. And the rest of the team as well, manufacturing, et cetera, is very, very good. So I feel like the team that can execute Gil's plans is pretty strong, and they're working well together as a team. And to me, that's the high order bit. It's not going around giving speeches and things like that, because Apple's problem has been not a lack of air volume coming out of Apple. It's been a lack of execution. It's been a lack of good management. It's just the basic stuff. And I think the basics are getting put in place. And to a large extent, they're already put in place. And that's filtering down, through the organization. And I think that you're going to, results don't happen overnight, but I think they are starting to happen already. Some of the newer products I think are good, and I think, by the end of this year, it's going to be much clearer that things are going like this. So my suggestion to you is, don't get freaked out by Microsoft any more than we were freaked out by IBM when we started Apple. Even though you may not fully see it, there has been a sea change at Apple in the management of the company, and there are some very strong people running the functional organizations. I think that I have a lot of confidence in the senior team of the company to execute, and I think they're going to. And I think that the move to Rhapsody represents a very discontinuous opportunity for software developers to compete and to make some really great products. And Rhapsody is going to run on everything from PCs to the new Macs to even the old Mac OS. And I think there's a tremendous opportunity to embrace this new stuff. So if I were you, what I would do is go out and buy any box that runs Rhapsody and start taking a look at it and start developing some code on it. And I think you're going to be blown away. And I think that there's an opportunity to make some really wonderful apps, and that this customer base that we have of a few tens of millions of people can really start to zoom ahead of the rest of the whole industry in what they can do, the capabilities they have, the experience they have, and the fun that they have. And a lot of it's going to be up to you, and I really hope that you embrace this as much as the team at Apple is, because we have a chance to do something really good. And I really appreciate the chance to come hear some of your questions and hopefully answer some of them and have a chance to be with you here today. Thank you.